Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to this says fall 2024. Now it's spring 2025. This is the first module of what's Gen AI and how can educators use it. So every single module of this class, we're going to do these things. The first is we're going to learn a foundational AI literacy that shouldn't change as AI evolves. And if you're driving or you want to listen to this, treat me like a podcast. Um, the second is thing we'll do is discuss like implications for our pedagogy, and that's usually where the question's going to come in. The third thing we're going to do is I'm going to share various tools and techniques to adapt our practice to this brave new world. And I do want you to know AI is changing really fast. So these are recorded as of early February 2025. And feel free to email me if something doesn't feel right or you try a tool and it's broken. Please let me know. Then at the end, I'm gonna ask you to reflect. This is where we're gonna share some ideas by answering that question in the Google Classroom. This is our district mandated slide here. Um, we're gonna monitor and strengthen the instructional core, which is like doing sit-ups with AI. But the real goal is to describe, like, I want you to understand Jeffco's AI guidelines. We can identify and apply some key prompting principles for good enough AI prompts. I'm gonna give you some ways to think about prompts to hopefully like turn AI into your ideal teaching assistant. And we're going to explore various AI powered tools and resources. I was an English teacher for 10 years, so this is my like attempt to recapture that sense of glory and pretension. So this is lines out of Dante's Inferno, and we're in a really weird place in education right now. It's very strange because we're in these dark woods again. We've been here before, man. COVID was rough. But in the middle of the journey of our life, I came to myself in a dark wood where the direct way was lost. It's a hard thing to speak of, how wild, harsh, and impenetrable that wood was, so that thinking of it recreates the fear. And again, Dante's Inferno is really prescient for me. Whoops. Dante's Inferno is really prescient for me because we've been through a lot of dark woods in education. We've gotten through it, but the only way we've gotten through it is with the help, guidance, and mentorship of others. Sometimes the crying shoulder of others. Um, we've only done it together. We just have to wander around for a while and try to figure out our way. Um, and that's like a fair question would be like, why should I be your Virgil, who's the guide in Dante's Inferno? And the answer is um, because you chose me to. So this is just me. This is my dog Luya. My name is Andrew Gittner. I'm a K-12 ed tech specialist in Jeffco. My first year teaching, I taught AP Lit and 5 other preps. My COVID qualifications, because I don't know about you, but if somebody hasn't taught since COVID, I'm not super interested all the time, and I have a hard time like trusting it. So I taught in person, hybrid, and online all at the same time in a bunch of different ways. I've done this before. I like in the year 2022, a student showed me how to cheat on all of my assignments with Snapchat or with um, with ChatGPT, and it blew my mind. But it really opened me up to the possibilities. If students can do that, then that means if you can articulate anything in language, you can get AI to take a stab at it, right? So how'd I get here? I'm kind of the TOSA for AI stuff or thought. And that's really my role at the district. My hope is that AI can help teaching become a more sustainable profession. My job is to support you, which is why I put together classes and trainings like this. And just search my name, Andrew Gittner, and Jeffco's, any of Jeffco's emails. I don't think there's anybody else with my name. Okay, let's move on. Before we keep going, we should probably get a good idea of a shared understanding of just Gen AI 101. What is it and what is it not? That's really important because there's a lot of things it's not. It is not self-aware. It's not a friend of Sarah Connor. This is not Skynet we're talking about. Actually, it's more like infinite monkeys typing on infinite typewriters, trying to write Shakespeare. That's a lot closer to what it is. AI is a lot closer to your phone, like iMessage doing autocomplete, than it is, you know, conscious thought. What it's not, and we're going to cover limitations in more detail in the next session, but AI is not a search engine, although there are search engines that include AI. It's definitely not error free. We'll go over some of those funny ones. It's not unbiased, it's not sentient, and it absolutely is not a replacement for teachers, despite what some charter school models are trying. There is a fundamental human element in education, as you'll discover as we talk through these AI literacies. So the next module, we're going to focus more on those biases and limitations. But AI is also not new. Like, really, what we're saying what people say when they mean AI now is generative AI, AI that creates new stuff. And that's because generative AI is really built on things like deep learning, which is just a computer drawing conclusions about stuff. A subset where the computation of multi-level neural networks is feasible. Basically, it like lets AI make a lot more connections that it's learned by looking at a ton of different parameters. Like some of the chatbots, the bigger ones have about 400 billion. So they've looked at 400 billion things, right? And artificial intelligence, which is a thing that just lets machines imitate human behavior. These are just some definitions, but basically, generative AI uses a combination of all of the kinds of AIs we've had before to create content. And that can include text, images, audio, code, video. It can also watch video now that's either out or will be out soon. It can imitate reasoning using a variety of techniques. So, like all of this is sort of the convergence of a lot of things that have been happening since the 50s. You know, got real bigger in the 80s, 90s, and like this is where we're at today. These are just some popular AI chatbots that are really important to know. I think are really important to know. There's ChatGPT is the name brand everybody's pretty familiar with. This is what it understands. Feel free to just pause the video here and take a screenshot. Google Gemini, I circled it because if you're working in Jeffco, Gemini is the safest. Microsoft Copilot, if you use Microsoft products, is similar, but Gemini is really going to be your all-purpose chatbot. I will warn you, Snap AI is what a lot of my students had. They found it's real heavily marketed to them. It basically gamifies their friendships. It's, I think, terrible, but it also lies about tracking their location. And it's many of my students' only experience with like an AI that will lie to them. Also, and be ready to be horrified at this, AI is getting uncomfortably better. This is a video from 2023 of Will Smith eating spaghetti. Again, this is 2023. ChatGPT came out in November of 2022. So you can very clearly see this is not Will Smith. That eating spaghetti, he's made of spaghetti, right? You can see the subtitles here. That's him bathing in spaghetti, it melting into his face. Like obviously there's a lot of discontinuities here. It's this is from Just a Happy Troll. Right? I don't even know, man. This is just scary. But this is Will Smith eating spaghetti in 2024. All of this is completely AI generated, right? You can see there's a lot more continuity. The lines are smoother. It's not perfect. You saw the spaghetti just come out of his mouth, and you saw this eating you saw him eating somebody's hair here. However, I'm not certain this person ever existed, right? That person could entirely just be a prompt. It's getting uncomfortably better, right? So that's the speed at which this is progressing. So I do want to include a disclaimer. My hope is that the core learnings in this class don't disappear. They don't become obsolete. But the tools might. So it's important to know that going in. So as of February 6th of 2024, here's where GenAI is at in Jeffco. I have this labeled as district talking points, but this is Jeffco's strategic plan and where AI fits into different parts of that. This slide's really important because any teacher or student use of AI in Jeffco needs to be guided by these core beliefs. And they're core beliefs instead of rules, because just like you saw with Will Smith eating spaghetti, this changes quickly. Making rules as in do this, not this, isn't practical because this or that will change into something else. And then we got to make new rules for that, right? It's not possible to make rules for something that's changing this quickly. So our use needs to be, and this is a core learning. Look for these on the slides. This is a core learning where our use needs to be guided by the human values that we hold. So we believe AI is a tool, not a replacement. It needs to support and enhance learning, but not replace people talking to each other or thinking. AI needs to be used ethically, inclusively, transparently, and for the benefit of all students. And that's really important because some AI systems don't allow for like text to speech or are not accessible, right? It's vital that we consider that all students can access this and that all students are given the opportunity to. Without that, the gaps between who has and who does not have access to various AI tools will only make things grow wider. Third, all users are accountable for the accuracy, originality, and ethical implications of our work, right? We humans can be accountable, but a computer or a machine or a program never can be accountable. We're accountable. So when we create something, whether or not it's used with AI, like we need to be able to be honest about that. We need to not steal people's stuff to the best of our ability in a modern society. And we need to be sure that we're actually like being the human in the loop. You'll learn more about that in module 2. In between the unmediated AI model and the humans and our students. So fourth, AI should always safeguard students and staff privacy and personally identifiable information. Putting pictures of students into AI is generally a no-go. Please don't do that. Nor should you put names, grades, addresses, etc. We have to safeguard that information. There are some tools we can use, but we have to be careful about that. And fifth, just like I mentioned before, AI is evolving really quick. Again, think about spaghetti. And that requires us to continuously learn and adapt to prepare our students for the future. But if we're using AI in accordance with these principles, we're safe to experiment. That said, we're responsible for doing the legwork to make sure we're living with these principles. Just to clarify, these are the actual products that Jeffco IT supports. We support Gemini, and you can click any of these on the slides you have access to. This is on slide 20. You can click either any of these to learn how to use any of these features, but those are the only tools that Jeffco supports. And that's in part because if we're using the core Gemini app or Notebook LM, which is another Google product, then it guarantees data privacy. In any other generative AI, this and Copilot, but I didn't include that because like most teachers don't use Microsoft. That's mostly for central office folks. So if you're taking this class, central office folks, check out Copilot. But like, really, it's all about the Google. Okay. It's vitally important. We'll dive into this more to consider risk and reward when using generative AI. And like I said, we'll get into this more, but feel free to take a screenshot if you're looking for just a menu of stuff to try or not try. And this people really seem to like. This is an AI rating system. Jeffco IT only supports the purple outlines, and it's always going to be a draft. Also, I got to keep moving my face around because I keep covering stuff. What we've tried to do here is categorize what's okay to use with students, what's okay to guide students' use for 13 and up, and what is only for teacher use. This one may change, but if you click on any of the tools here, it'll take you to that company's training materials that can tell you more about the tool. But tools here, you can't always guarantee PII safety, and really there's no educational use for Snapchat, so there's no link there. Suno is really fun. Don't let students use it. Don't use it with students. It vacuums all the privacy data. Oh, and there's a tiny, tiny spreadsheet in this bottom right corner. If you click that, that'll take you to a list of things that we recommend. And you're welcome to, check out the different like things or the different kind of features of each tool there. So let's review. Generative AI is really what we're talking about. It creates content. It's not self-aware, error-free, unbiased, sentient, or a replacement for teachers. in Jeffco, our goal is to use generative AI to prepare students for the future ethically and responsibly. And that means um, that we have to do things like weigh the risk and rewards with human oversight. That means we have to follow those core principles. And there are many, many tools that can help teachers. Those tools may change by the time you're watching this video. All right. So, right now, let's get into it. Foundational AI Literacy 1 out of 4. You're going to learn one a module. But the perfect prompt isn't actually perfect, it's just good enough. So the short version, the TL too long, didn't read, fast forward, version of this is perfection is the enemy of the good. Do not try to chase the perfect AI prompt. But really, the way generative AI works, if you aim just to have a good AI conversation and go back and forth with it and clarify what you want, you're going to end up with a way better product. That said, the prompt does matter. Paralysis by analysis is old as writing. Like, I got really bored and made a timeline. You can click my face, read it on an app called Napkin. It's real cool. But basically, people have been struggling to get started forever. One of the reasons is because we know that 80% of the actual key results come from about 20% of our effort, and it's hard to know what that 20% is. A good result is an iterative conversation based on a good prompt, and that's the 20% that gets you that 80% results. The rest, it's not that it's not important. You can revise it, you can change it, but using AI is a skill that takes practice. And if you put in the effort now, I promise you it will deliver results for you later. You will return dividends with your time in a way that will make teaching a sustainable profession. So then it comes to, we got to ask ourselves, when might I use AI? And this is a key learning. Knowing how or when to use AI is about knowing which tasks to give which half, right? So think about the centaur, right? It's got a human half and it's got a horse half. If you just took a human, like, there's a reason the horse half is on the ground where it can run, because horses run faster than humans and can carry more and can, move people with ease. But on the other side, this human half has thumbs, so it can use a bow and arrow. If you got to kill something, maybe it's better to use that human half, right? Humans are pretty good at killing stuff. But some tasks with AI are way better for the human half. Things that require you to know the context of your students, things that require emotional intelligence and understanding, like really knowing the people that are your ends, that you're helping. Some tasks are better for the non-human half. AI can read and write a lot faster, like a horse can run. Not like a horse can write. Horses don't write well. They don't have thumbs, which are really the best part about humanity if you think about it. It's good for getting you where you want to go. So if you give a horse a direction, and it'll go. And if you ask AI, it will also have 4 legs. Just ask it, right? And that's kind of a goofy thing, because AI wants to make you happy and give you what you want. But the way that it's most effective and able to do that is as a conversation, right? Generative AI tends to predict your needs based on its training data and your input. So you input a prompt, that prompt gets fed into either a model you can't see in, or a model that like gives you some sort of transparency into how it's making the decisions. Then maybe it justifies its output or explains it, and then it gives you your output, right? There's always a sense of injected randomness in the output. So when you create something with generative AI, it's by definition random. That's just part of the program, part of the function. That's what I meant to say. Promise it wasn't a bad word. Then you take that output and you tell AI what you want to be similar or different about it. Okay? You get real granular and real clear with like what kind of stuff you want. Then that refined prompt goes back into the AI, which now has more context to work with and can give you a better result. It is not like using a search engine, right? Search engines try to match your input to existing results, but AI tries to use context and use its training data to iterate on what you want. Search engines are going for speed, but generative AI is way better to talk to. The perfect prompt just has to be good enough. So take a look at Einstein. If I had an hour to solve the problem and my life depended on it, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper questions to ask. So AI is like a high school student. It'll answer what it understood, not what you meant. So by responding to the output and clarifying what you mean, it'll do better, right? And if you repeat it a couple times, then stop when you got a reasonable draft or when you get close, and then move it over to something where you can iterate like with you, the human part. The best way to use generative AI, like Ethan Malik, who is actually good. Like I get suspicious with consultants, but Ethan Malik suggests two ways to think about starting with generative AI. The first way is thinking about it as like good enough prompting for tasks, and that involves treating the AI like a new intern or coworker and working with it to get things done. So I'm going to show you that's mostly like level one prompting, which we'll get to in a bit. Good enough prompting for thought is really different. And that's where you can use the AI's superpower of telling it to have four legs and then describe what it's like to be a centaur, right? Um, you can use it as a thinking partner to pitch problems and tell it what expertise you want it to use. So I'm like censoring this meme of Homer's back a little bit. But what a lot of people struggle with is that you see AI pump out a good result when you watch somebody who's good at it do it, you use it in front of you, right? What you don't see is the good enough prompting they had to do to get there. Using AI is a skill. Be gentle with yourself. It does take practice to get here. Don't expect it to be perfect. But once you get good enough, see what I did there? Then you absolutely can get 80% of the way to your goal. You don't get paralyzed by how do I start, because you know that the real goal is just to have a good enough start, and that you can have faith in the process that you will get there if you keep trying. So the strategy to do that is good enough prompting. So that's pretty much what we're reviewing. So how do I use AI as an educator? These are just some things, but literally filling out any kind of template, doing any kind of writing, any kind of professional communication. It can give you pointers. It can role play too. You can use it as a free expert consultant, and anything you could express in language, you can get it to take a shot at, right? And that's because remember, AI works is by prompting, where you give something to generate a response, whereas a search engine really cares about phrasing or phrases where you're looking to find specific information, right? You can get real deep into like prompt engineering. You don't have to. All you have to do is know how to ask a question, give an instruction, or share a message so AI can do something for you. So the way this works is your good enough first prompt starts the conversation, right? And these are some sentence stems you can use. Create a clear prompt. Give it a like your task is to X. All right. So I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna click here, and I'm just gonna whoops, make a copy. By the way, you can change that to copy in order to make a copy. Sorry, you can't see that part. You can change the last part of the edit where it says edit in the Google Docs URL. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Right. So the P stands for prompt. So what do you want it to do? So we're going to use the example, write a short story, paste. We're going to give it a role. You are, and I'm going to type this one, you are a seasoned mystery writer who loves, let's go with Stephen King. You don't need capitals to be right. Not necessarily. You don't worry about spelling too much. Then give it explicit instructions. And those can include things like who's the audience. The audience is my students who like Minecraft and enjoy a humorous, or excuse me, let's say dry, cynical tone. You're going to learn a lot about me from this class. The story must be in haiku. You may include as many haiku as necessary up to approximately 15 lines. Then you put it all together. And what I'm going to do, right, you can just copy, you can just paste them into this prep thing here. This is where you combine the steps. And then you can add stuff like your goal is to write a short story for my students to learn descriptive writing from. So notice there how I made the purpose like for students to learn, to write a short story for my students to learn descriptive writing. Okay, perfect. Then take this, copy it. I'm going to go like you can learn how to use Gemini. Basically, I also have this one for image prompters, right? But we're going to go to Google Gemini and we're going to start a new chat here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste the prompt in here. Your goal is to write a short story. All right. Help me with this. Dry pixel sun. Oh, dusty pixel sun. Yep, that works. Creeper shadow, blocky fear, Steve's shovel troubles, ancient mossy door, whispers in the coated wind, Notch's rat sleeps here. I don't know that one, but maybe maybe somebody can help me. Cobwebs hang like shrouds. Okay, so I'm gonna take this. Describe how I would analyze this with my students, um, so they see where the descriptive language is. Justify the decisions you made. So remember, my ultimate goal is to like write a short story for my students to learn descriptive writing. It did use a dry, cynical tone. It did write the stories in haiku. Now, I'm going to say now adopts the role of a fifth grade teacher. All right, class, let's dissect this spooky Minecraft story. Remember, we're looking for descriptive language, words that paint a picture. First haiku. So it goes with each one. It goes through every single line, which is really interesting. And then we would continue like this. Why I chose these words. I tried to use words that appeal to your senses. Okay. Now do this for the next haiku. And I really like this. It's picked up where it left off. Diamond sword gleams sharp. Yeah. This gives us a little hope. It's not just a sword, it's a diamond sword. Whoops. One thing I like about Gemini is you can modify the selected text. Rewrite using uh, the significance of diamonds in Minecraft, as well as the hopeful tone. And sometimes this will work. Sometimes Gemini will get confused. It's not just a sword, it's a diamond sword. The best. In Minecraft, diamonds are rare and precious, symbols of hope and strength. Okay. So you can use that as well. Why these words? I like it. So that's kind of how, that's me just illustrating like how you would iterate on generative AI, where prompting is a conversation, right? Um, Initially, even though I told it its goal was to teach, was for me to teach my students, it just wrote the haikus because that's the task I gave it. What I did then, when it didn't quite do what in my head I wanted to do, I clarified to AI what I wanted. And in doing that, I cemented what I actually wanted in the first place, which was an activity for fifth graders that used Minecraft. And by correcting AI's output, that actually gives me clarity, not just about how I might explain something, but also about how, like, is the response meeting what I want? And if that's the question, that means I have to determine what I want in order to evaluate the response, determine the accuracy, identify any biases or misconceptions, right? I could ask it to rewrite, um, now, write a teacher's guide for this lesson in the form of a table so I can export it to Google Docs. Notice how I told it exactly how I wanted it And look, it's given me a lesson plan. Now, another thing I can do, draft an internalization document based on and this is just it's better, faster. Uh, I almost wrote ideology, methodology. Notice here, date, standards addressed, insert relatives, learning objectives, success criteria, data collection analysis, action plan, specific instructions, rubric example. Notice it's got a rubric. Now, draft a chart so I can do academic monitoring. You could do like, that's what I mean. Now look, it drafted the chart for each part. Actually, that's really cool. I really like that. Rating scale, cute. We're using numeric scale. Example entry. Wow, it gave me an exemplar, guys. This is good. So that's why prompting is a conversation. Notice I didn't know I wanted all of that. All I knew, honestly, was what I wanted to illustrate how to prompt initially, and we used the prep format. I clicked on this document, I filled it in, I pasted it in a Gemini. And by the way, the way you get to Gemini is just Google Gemini and then favorite it. Or you can go to your waffle, but just Google Gemini. And if you need to get started, try these prompts, right? The purpose here, if you want to get AI to help you prompt AI, sounds ridiculous, but it's actually really good at it, just say, what other information would you, or what information would you need from me in order to push my thinking in a direction that'll help us create something new together? And then you describe what it was. Then answer the questions, and then you tell AI to write a prompt for an LLM to complete this task. If you want, and I really like this one, on-demand coaching for literally anything. Tell AI, become a thinking partner for me to bounce ideas off of. Keep your responses to 5 sentences and use cognitive coaching to help prompt me. Ready? And then it'll start. Get yourself the best co-planner ever. I actually wrote a custom AI bot just to do this. It's really helpful. I tell it my prompt honestly starts with adopt the persona of an expert teacher with experience in excuse me with experience in this classroom, or with these graders in this content area. Help me plan this and focus on this, right? So those are just ways you can use AI. And an example, so I'm going to talk through a bunch of these. This is again the prompt framework. But I'm going to break these, and I showed you kind of level 0, right? Using the prep fill in the blank prompts. That's easy. Anybody can fill in blanks, right? And if you practice that, it becomes far more intuitive. Level 1 prompts, the way I think of it, and again, these are all made up in an abstraction, guys. This is fake. This is just one way to communicate like the different kinds of possibilities you have for generative AI. Question is, could a layperson do this task? And this is where most people use AI. If you can easily copy and paste the required information, if a regular person could describe what it looks like almost anybody can describe what an email looks like, what a resume looks like, if it doesn't require substantial revision, right? And if you can describe what you want, then it's really useful for these things. Honestly, drafting a UIP for a school, if you're a principal taking this class, or drafting like a year-long scope and sequence, or just taking pictures of the IM workbook and having it draft stuff or fill in templates using it. Gemini can do that. And that's a level 1 prompt. So here's the basic framework. Do this with this, about this, use this information. And here are some tools you can use. This is Claude, this is ChatGPT. But really any regular AI bot will work for this. Level 2 prompts, whoops, I don't want to be in front of Liam Nielsen. Level 2 are when you really need an expert with a specific set of skills. This is when you need a consultant, but one consultant, because too many consultants in a room is really just like a waste of money. But delineation and clarity. Describe how you want a task completed, then continue it as an iterative discussion. Would a person need prerequisite skills, knowledge, or experience to attempt this task? Are several sources of information necessary? And I mean like a bunch of sources. Like, do you have to reference a folder of things? Or does it take a lot of professional context to understand the required information? Or would this task require that you meet with a specialist in a different field or with specific knowledge? This is really useful for making crosswalk documents. Like, I need to adapt my old curriculum to a new curriculum, right? If you have your old curriculum all in one document and the new curriculum all in doesn't matter how many documents, you can tell, you put them both in Notebook LM, tell it to be this and make a crosswalk between them, and it'll show you where the overlaps are, right? It's really good for drafting effective PD plans and effective PD sessions, planning specialized programs or strategies for a single program, one program, right? Also, I've used this for real estate appraisals and it works. So level 2 prompts are a little bit more complicated. You'll see that these get a little longer. This is, again, you need a really capable co-author, like a specialist, somebody with like a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in something. As a district curriculum specialist, develop a comprehensive analysis of our reading intervention strategies, including this, and potential challenges and mitigations. I need you to be critical and skeptical to help me see potential pitfalls. That is a really important sentence because generative AI wants to make you happy. So you need it to tell you to be critical and skeptical, or vice versa. You need to tell it to be critical and skeptical in order to prompt it like, oh, I should do that. That's what they want. You can create a cross-departmental communication toolkit. Anything that you could create with the help of an expert is a level 2 prompt. And the biggest difference is you tell the AI exactly who it is. You can even give it a name if you want, like the name of an influential AI, like a education researcher. You could have your own personal Hattie and Marzano, and obviously that'll solve all the problems. But these are effective tools for that. You can use Gemini, Copilot. Perplexity is really good. Notebook LM I made biggest because honestly, this is where I live for this when I have to upload a lot of extra documents. So this is where I need a sentence frame or many. I gave those in an earlier slide. Now we get to like the big ones, right? The level 3 prompts, which is really when you need a room full of experts, a project manager, a therapist, and like all sorts of other things. These are tasks that require a vast repository of skills, experiences, perspectives, context, negotiation between various stakeholders, competing priorities, and nuance. And I can't actually give you simple templates for them because they resist templates, right? These are when you have extremely complex multi-step problems. They're going to require multiple conversations and testing and trying to like have different things talk to each other. It really requires thinking systemically. Um, if you have incoherent stakeholder feedback, it's really good. You could give it profiles of all the school board members and then maybe 5 samples of each of their writing. Honestly, you could just grab a transcript from the last board study session and upload it, and it would help you start analyzing what each board member wanted to say. And it's really helpful for sorting through competing priorities because you tell it to become people using a certain kind of way of thinking about stuff. Please give yourself a break. Level 3 is mostly an abstraction. Seriously, my numbers in here, if you've watched the video to minute 39, just text me because you're clearly are into this. But this is mostly an abstraction. These kinds of tasks might require really detailed background knowledge of how AI works. There's literally, it's a $300,000 starting job at a lot of places to be a prompt engineer, and that's what this takes. I'm not saying I'm that good, but if you want help, I'm excited and I want to help. And it's hard because all the products keep changing that would give you the ability to do this. So I didn't put a list of products, right? Because literally DeepSeek R1 came out 2 weeks ago and it blew up the world apparently. Well, not yet. So these are the kind of prompts that prompt engineers get paid for. Would also save everybody hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer money. Adopt the perspective and expertise of a consultant from the New Teacher Project. You have a million years of experience in supporting high quality education and are particularly concerned about closing achievement gaps. Your task is to develop a comprehensive initiative roadmap for doesn't matter what. That must align with the needs of A, and then you give it that audience and all the information you have on them. You must synthesize current research, and you literally can list as many things. Notice how there's also like delineations for what's important. Then you give it a list of deliverables. You can like this. I've tried it, and then I went back and forth. Wasn't bad. Did a pretty good job in about for hundreds of thousands of dollars cheaper than hiring anyone. So these prompts are what prompt engineers get paid for, and usually they work with a content specialist to like talk it through and test it and stuff and try stuff. Prompting is hard. Give yourself a break. Just everybody started. All the cool people started painting by painting happy little clouds. Just give yourself a break. Just try it. Right? You're not going to break anything. But regardless of what level you're at, there are infinite applications of this technology in a way that can help you and make teaching sustainable, which is really the goal, to make it to retirement. I'm going to share a couple AI use cases and then some tools. But just take a second, pause the video, and just brainstorm some stuff. If you got a neighbor, literal or figurative, share. Type it. This is for when the class was live. But here are some examples of good enough prompting. And you can click on these. They're on slide 56. But this is an example using Frederick Bachman's Beartown. Notice it took you all the way to the bottom. So if you scroll up, you can copy and paste this if you want. This is from my friend Ashley Ferraro. She's great. But you can be this specific. Again, notice you are a licensed secondary teacher who teaches 9th grade English. One thing you got to know, notice how it outputted in code. My favorite question is, why are you writing this as code? And it goes, my bad. Here's the information in a more readable format. And then it did it, which is pretty good. It's got the learning goals. It's got key concepts. It's got vocabulary. What will students be able to do? And it's got like the unit learning goals. It's got possible character misconceptions or student misconceptions, an example end of unit assessment. Could you come up with 3 alternative assessments? And she dropped the standards in there. She dropped the whole rubric in there. Certainly, here's 3. It came up with 3. Write a rubric for alternative assessment 2. And then she had it craft an exemplar. Here's the problem. The character monologue is from Molly. There is no Molly in the book Beartown. She does not exist. Like I said, AI needs you because you can tell it there's no Molly in that book. Sometimes the AI just invents stuff. So it's really important that we're accountable for our AI, for what we use AI for. Another one here we go. Here's a few other ideas to get you started. I liked using it for parent emails a lot. I would speech to text what I wanted to say and then using a helpful tone, right? And then you can say, let them know what we're going to learn next month. This is great for classroom newsletters. It's awesome. It's solid for anchor charts. What I like is because the anchor charts are like these kinds of step-by-step processes I need to use AI for. I'm bad at them. I needed help, right? So menu of restorative repair options is good. Risk assessment example if you got to fill out field trip paperwork. And I do want you to introduce you to a couple other tools. This one is just regular Google. Is it? Yeah, this one's regular Google Gemini. But on slide 62, you can use these custom chatbots. So click check it out. What these are we use some tools in Magic School, not because we have a partnership with them or anything, but just because it was pretty easy. So we have various tools here. So we have the internalization intern, the lesson plan coach, the AI literacy bot, ask questions you have about AI. This one will draft CMAS assessment items for you. This one, and all you do is click on them, click generate, and it'll just give you kind of like clear step by step. So include the grade level, 5th grade math fractions. multiplying. And what this does is we've written the prompt for you. Thanks. Before doing this, can you share a specific example? Let's say multiplying fractions by whole numbers. All right, here's a draft learning goal. Would you like me to create success criteria, right? So like this one will walk you through creating learning goals and success criteria. There are a bunch of other tools there. Here's the caveat. You have to save the exact URL at the top where it says like student.magicschool that you can't see because I didn't want you to see my ugly number of tabs. But the URL, you have to copy that exact thing and save it to save your outputs. So just let's review. Before we go on to like more specific tools, GenAI can help you with writing, communication, anything based in language. Effective prompting includes clear instructions, a role, and parameters. There's a bunch of prompting based on like the level of task complexity or really what kind of help you need. This is part of why all these images are so dark because like there's a lot of uncertainty to wade through. I do want to. There are no actual Jeffco supported AI tools, but let me give you a couple ideas for Swiss Army knife tools. Right? You saw Gemini. Notebook LM is really good. We'll look at that a little bit more next module. But most companies that are trying to market themselves as AI for educators are really just adding a fancy prompt, putting it in pretty branded formatting, and that's most AI products. So again, you can click on many of those, but I do want to highlight Hair Deck has an AI component that's really good for creating lessons that have Pear Decks built in. Quizzes is great for this. Curipod is great for this. And remember, if you click on any of these, Brisk is good. CoGrader's mostly for grading. Snorkel's mostly for feedback. If you use Khan Academy a lot, or if you have students on Khan Academy like mappers, you can do that. You can use FigJam as like a Jamboard replacement. It's just a whiteboard, but you can use an AI prompt to get it to draft like a template for you. Perplexity is really good. It's like AI, it's like ChatGPT or Gemini, except it always cites its sources. So let me just run through a couple specific tools, but I'm really relying on you to like click on stuff and try things. Magic School AI is like the gateway drug to AI stuff. You click login, you can log in with your Jeffco Schools Gmail. Whoops, I gotta keep moving my face. So I logged in. Mine looks a little different because of a pilot we're running, but you'll basically see like tools. You can favorite them. So if you like the text dependent questions tool, look, it's in favorites now. I like it uses the Adobe Express image generator, or you could just go to Adobe Express. The clear directions really helped me because I could click on that. And again, this is what it looks like. You just paste your original directions and you hit generate. So Magic School does that, and you can then step by use Gemini good. So I'm going to click that for clear directions. So notice it has please specify the grade. What you can do is the paid version lets you finish stuff and it suggests things, but if you just want to use it for free, just copy whatever this is, go to Reina, their chatbot. It's like Gemini, but an instructional coach. And you can just paste that like in there and follow up with it. So here's an argumentation unit plan, right? This is a calendar. I hated making calendars, so it wrote that there. And then I said, no, make it a table. And it says, my bad. And it did that. And I really like that. Start on February 6th, 2025, and add dates instead of days in the left hand column. I haven't touched this for a while, but notice 6th, 7th, 10th. It skipped the weekend. That's awesome. Except it got it. Oh, perfect, actually. So that's really nice. It skipped weekends. Cool. I didn't know it would do that. That's better than I thought. And then you can copy or you can export. Actually, just copy. I think exporting is it costs money. That's where we have the Jeffco specific AI tools. Pear Deck can generate instant slides. You can click here for a tutorial, and click here, I think, to just try it. It's this create button. Brisk teaching is so good. You have to add the Chrome extension, but they do have a nice prompt library over here. But it's this little b. It usually asks you for additional permissions, but then you can create. You won't see this, but they also have a student-facing activity that's pretty cool. But you can like give feedback on a ton of things. It's Brisk is really powerful. It's like Magic School that goes with you everywhere. School AI, they also have assistants and tools. They're really known for their student-facing spaces, but School AI is very solid. Let me click here. I'm going to sign in. Signed in, cool. Up at the top, spaces are the student-facing things, but the tools, it's just Magic School or like any other of the other things. It'll make a PLC agenda. The assistants are specialized AI bots that are designed to make those level two, one, and especially those level two prompts a lot easier, right? You can do a curriculum coach and it'll help you make a class. A digital literacy coach, essay grading assistant's not bad. So there's a lot of different tools within School AI. Most people don't know about the tools or assistants. Khan Academy looks real similar, and it's not an accident. Oh man, sign up for free. I should just be able to log in. Looks like I'm already using Conmigo. Again, this looks very familiar, doesn't it? It's got favorites. You can filter that there. What I really like is the recommend assignments feature. If your students use Khan Academy, it'll recommend what to assign them in the platform next, and it makes like differentiation way faster. Twee, I haven't used in a while, but it's a solid tool, mostly for English teachers, but it's good. It's really good for like summaries, and creating additional like lesson materials. So those are just some tools that help do this, but like take a second and reflect. Like feel free to pause me. What are you going to bring with you from this session? And what thoughts do you want to leave for us to ponder? All right, let's recap. So in that last section, we went over AI is not error-free, good promptings and iterative conversation. Um, and this is the whole thing. We really, really, really focus on AI use that aligns with our district priorities and values, but we do believe in Jeffco that it can make teaching more sustainable. So now, whoa, there we go. So now, as your Virgil, put my head on this guy's head, we've begun our descent, right? This is not going to be a short journey, and we've been in the woods, right? We're just at the entrance of hell in Dante's Inferno. And please always remember, we don't have to do this alone. You can always email me. I prioritize getting back to teachers because when educators ask for something, when schools ask for something, it is urgent, and you deserve a fast response whenever possible. But teaching is always better with people. So please invite your friends to join this journey on you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Just make sure to answer the question, I think below, along with any questions I've embedded in the video that you may have skipped. And I'll see you in the next module where we'll talk about like the limitations of AI.